Welcome to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. I'm Emmanuel Lacho, and I got this huge smile on my face because we got a huge show coming up for the next 2 hours. So let's get right to it. I'm joined always by Marcellus. Marcellus, can somebody help me find Marcellus Sleep? Bro, you okay? What's going on with you?
Emmanuel?
Yes? I see you dressed in all black. You got your funeral attire on.
Let me gather myself,
Please,
brother.
he's still grieving, America. He's still grieving the loss of his Clippers.
Is this life? Is this what we're going to do right now?
This is your life, sir. This is your life. You asked for this, Marcellus. You asked for this. I just need to know what's your reaction?
What's my reaction?
What's your reaction?
You're going to sit here right now at this funeral and question how we got in that casket instead of the real celebration of love and life and the road that we traveled as Clip City, Chip City. Damn you, dance on the grave of my team this soon. But you know what, big dog? I can't lie to you. It hurts. It hurts, America.
Why it hurts?
It hurts because this ain't the first time I done felt this pain.
Get it out. He got a tear in his eye.
I done been in this tabernacle before, looking at this same casket with a different set of bodies in it, but the same result, same outcome. How do I feel right now losing another series up 3-1?
Another one.
Another one. How do I feel? I feel like Clip City, Chip City 2021, baby. You know me, I ain't gonna never stop riding for my squad. Ain't nothing changed,
Get him
baby.
out of here, man.
This roll. Let's do a show now.
Let's
do a show.
Can we do a show, Marcellus? I want to start this show like this, Marcellus.
I'm ready.
Because here's my problem.
Okay, here you go.
I'm not going to so quickly let you, sir, forget about the sins of your past.
Can you take the smile off your face while you
No,
go
I
through
can't.
this process?
Because, Marcellus, I believe it was September 10th, sir, that you told me, roll the tape if we can.
We are at that whiteboard again, trying to draw up how to attack the Clippers. And you have nothing to write on that board. This team, when they come in locked, loaded, and motivated, those are your champions.
Your champions!
What happened?
Those are your champions.
Why you cut the clip before I say 2021?
In locked, loaded, and motivated, those are your champions. You said that whiteboard. They taking that whiteboard with them to Cabo. But Marcellus, there was one more pivotal error, because that was last week. That was about 8 days ago. But then yesterday, even yesterday, I got something confused. Roll the tape, please.
Here it is.
Come on,
Marcellus. Hey, look.
Oh, stop this. I'm gonna be honest.
To the barbershop, because y'all start doing this stuff,
don't go 'cause you don't
and
have
I
hair.
gotta go.
You don't go because you don't have hair.
Yeah, you ain't got no hair to get barbershop. You line yourself up every morning.
America. See, Marcellus, I was confused. I thought you didn't go to the barbershop because you don't have hair. When in fact, you don't go to the barbershop because even you don't trust Clippers. Even you don't trust Clippers. Marcellus, you got to explain something to me. Pardon me,
Why are you crying?
Pardon me,
out of joy?
See, I'm crying tears of joy. You crying tears of pain. What happened? Let me tell you what happened.
Please, let me
tell you what happened.
Let me hear somebody.
What happened was Kawhi. What happened to Kawhi? The top 5 player of all time. What happened to Kawhi? Kawhi Jeffrey, Jordan Leonard. What happened to him?
He had the worst shooting half of his career. That's what happened to him. The worst shooting half for a guy who wasn't even a two-way player. He came out defensive-minded. That is an insult when Kawhi Leonard becomes who he is, the great, and has his worst performance ever in the second half. And we were riding Kawhi all the way to our championship. That's what happened to Kawhi. What happened to the Clippers? Oh, brother, were you not listening?
I was listening to everything.
Okay, you know that being a fan, the root of fanatic is what we are. And I'm a fanatic for the Clippers. But I did get a message, loud and clear.
What message?
From Montrezl Harrell on January 4th. Montrezl Harrell kind of broke it down
What'd
for
he
us,
say?
guy. Let's listen to Montrezl Harrell break this down in this full screen right here. If you're just thinking you're just going to walk on the floor and beat another professional NBA team, you're kidding yourself. So it's just not going to happen. Either we wake up and figure it out right now, or we just going to have a full up and down season for the whole year. Big dog, Montrezl was trying to tell us this was a conflict, a battle of the old and the new. Montrez said we're not a great team. That's one thing that I think y'all need to get out of y'all minds. We're not a great team. We just came together this year. Ooh, look at this boy break this down. I ain't even gonna read the rest. We had 2 players that we added to a team that already thought that they had something going, overachieving from last year, and then we added 2 cherries on top we thought would fit conveniently. And it didn't work. But I'm not gonna hear people like you enjoy this moment like this isn't a process. This is a process. And you don't think this is a process?
Well, it's not a process because, if anything, it's a 2-year process. But bump all that. Let's get right to it, Marcellus. Let's get right to the pivotal part of this conversation. Who do you blame for the Clippers' loss?
Okay, look, it's a lot of people in this line right now. I got to kick some people out. Paul George is like, you can blame me. I'm like, nah, Paul, it ain't about you right now. And then we're left with 2 people, and you know who they are. Kawhi Leonard or Doc Rivers.
Great Doc Rivers.
Here's the problem. Doc Rivers has laughed at his reputation in the league as being the coach who is known as load management. It goes all the way back to 2008 when he won a championship with the Boston Celtics, and he's known not to have the most intense, difficult practices. He's known to not even have as many practices as the average coach. So he's Mr. Load Management as a coach, and he meets Mr. Load Management as a player. In terms of Kawhi Leonard coming in and Kawhi Leonard really changing the culture on the fly. But I got to pick between those 2 guys right now. And I'm going to have to say Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is an interesting case study, brother, because what got him out of San Antonio is kind of the same things that won a championship in Toronto and has now left the Clippers feeling like we've underachieved once again. You got this confluence of a guy who is tremendous at the game of basketball, but in terms of his leadership, it doesn't always match up to being that great of a person, player, alpha leader. So now you got this culture where everybody, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Pat Beverly, they think, we got this last year. Man, if we didn't have to play Golden State in the first round, well, we got 2 games from them. If we didn't have to play them, we would go get it. And then here comes Kawhi, better than all y'all, but quiet. So then who's the leader? Who's the alpha? Who's the one that's going to grab you when it's going rough, when it's going tough? I got to put it on Kawhi because his system of load management is risky. It's worked, and it hasn't worked. And right now, it's still underachieving.
I'm going to get to Kawhi in the next block.
Okay.
But see, these lashes got to come for jolly Doc Rivers in this block. And they got to come for Doc Rivers, Marcellus, because you just said who is the leader of this team. And the leader of this team isn't Kawhi. The leader of the team is Doc Rivers. Here's when I knew Doc Rivers had a problem. Before the closeout game, Game 7, Doc Rivers said, I don't need a big rah-rah speech. They just need, you don't even need a Clippers mask. Can we just use the yellow towel? Because the Clippers mask need to get thrown in the trash like the rest of them Clippers. Okay, when Doc Rivers said this, Marcellus, Doc Rivers said, they don't need a rah-rah speech. Just go play ball.
Oh,
there's
you
a
gonna
quote.
use that?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah.
Well, if it is broke, Doc, fix it. You in the bubble. Your team needs a rah-rah speech. There are no fans. There is no, There's no screaming. There's no yelling. The whole team is dependent on you to get them going. Doc Rivers, your team is one of a few teams that wanted to opt out the bubble. You should have known right then and there. You know what? My guys don't even want to be.
The Lakers wanted to opt out
Exactly.
first.
But who galvanized the Lakers? LeBron James. Who was supposed to galvanize the Clippers? Doc Rivers. Not Kawhi, not PG, not Pat Bev, not Morris, not Zubats, none of them. Doc Rivers. And Doc didn't do it. Think about this, Marcellus. Ty Lue, 2016. What happened when the Cavs went down 3-1 to them Warriors? He took a wad of cash. He put it in the ceiling. He said, we coming back here for a Game 7.
Man.
He took that tactic from Doc Rivers. Ty Lue said he got that trick from Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, where them tricks at when your team needed you the most?
Do you have Rudy in a VHS spindle case at home?
But the Clippers should.
It sounds like you just need that kind of motivation. I'm not the type of player to ever blame coach.
But your team is.
How's my team blaming coach? How's my team looking at coach? There's only 6 coaches, first of all, on the sidelines that are championship coaches. Doc Rivers is one of them. So don't act like Doc Rivers doesn't know how to cook it up. There are 24 other coaches out there never cooked up this meal.
I don't want to have to do this because I love Doc Rivers as a man, and that's probably why he's kept this job a little too long.
Oh, really? Not the championship?
That's probably. Oh, well, let's talk about that championship team. That same championship team that probably should have got 2 or 3. You're talking about that Celtics team, right? You're talking about that 08 Celtics team, right? Why'd they get broke up? You're talking about that 08 Celtics team, right? He's sweating. He's sweating. That 08 Celtics team that had KG, that had Pierce, that had Rondo. Doc Rivers, if we're being honest, he's underachieved. Let me give y'all stats, America, because it's facts over feelings, even though my brother's in his feelings today, which he should be. 2003, Doc Rivers blows a 3-1 lead. 09 blows a 3-2 lead. 10 blows a 3-2 lead. 12 blows a 3-2 lead. 15 blows a 3-1 lead. 16 blows a 2-0 lead. 2020, just yesterday, blows a 3-1 lead. Doc Rivers, Marcellus, he's lost an NBA record 8 Game 7s. He's lost 3 career playoff series, went up 3-1. No other coach has lost more than 1. So Doc Rivers is an amazing, amazing, amazing human being. But the best speech he gave was post-game about our society and the climate of this current culture. That's the best speech Doc Rivers gave in the whole bubble. It didn't even happen on the court. It wasn't even about basketball.
Hey, big dog. Leave the facts over feelings to me. You know why? Because you spit out a lot of facts, but you always forget for Doc Rivers to be in that many opportunities, and you're calling them all failures. But he put his team in that position countless times. That doesn't mean you're a bad coach, and that doesn't mean you're responsible for the failures of your players. Did Doc Rivers tell Kawhi Leonard to only make 1 field goal in the second half? Could Doc Rivers motivate Kawhi Leonard to do that?
Can I see your pocket square? Because I don't even want to see nothing blue and red on you the rest of the show. Okay? The Clippers ain't get out the semis.
Again.
Marcellus, you told me this was a championship team.
Oh, wow.
A championship team can't get past the semis?
Really? I heard you slip up.
Well, I didn't.
Freudian slip. LeBron James came west. A lot of people want to act like it was this year, and it wasn't. LeBron James came west last year.
Absolutely.
How'd that turn out?
He got hurt. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Because here's my thing. Where are the excuses for you? You don't even have an excuse.
Because I don't make excuses.
Because you don't have any.
No, I got
everybody's
them. I got them, but I'm a grown man.
Okay.
And when I stand up here at this tabernacle, brother, I'm going to speak the gospel, and it's going to be true.
Please.
It was a process for LeBron James when he came to L.A., and I knew you was going to jump in that rabbit hole talking about, he got hurt. What happened when he went to Miami and joined forces, and it was a stronger force with him and Dwayne Wade than it is with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? How did that first year turn out?
You're talking about, when they got to the finals? When they got to the finals? That's my problem.
You're making my point.
No. At least they win it all. At least they got there.
Hold on. So you feeling good with Silver? You the kind that's like, hey, moral victory. It's a process,
No. Let me, Marcellus.
Our championship is next year, just like LeBron's was in Miami, and like it may be this time.
I'm going to get to this equation further later, but you, sir, are Mr. Columbia. So more than anybody on this set or in this country, you can understand that equation. And I'm going to speak it now. I'm beating myself because I wanted to save it, but I ain't got no more time. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. The expectations for your Clippers was a chip. The reality, they didn't get past the semis. So my level of disappointment for this Clippers team is incredibly high. Because if you want to talk about anybody else in the NBA, even LeBron, his expectation is a chip. But his reality was at least the NBA Finals. So the disappointment is lessened. So you, sir, you set the bar all so high.
What? He is 3-6 in the finals. And ain't nobody
in the finals. When's the last time the Clippers were in the finals?
We ain't never been to the conference finals.
No, don't even say it with your chest. Say it with the embarrassment that you got. Say it with...
The point is, if you don't win, you're the first loser. And you over here trying to make an argument that it's okay to just come up short. We want it all, or we gonna be in the process of getting
it all. At least, Marcellus, y'all aren't first in anything. That's the problem. You can't even be the first loser. The Clippers weren't even quality enough losers to be the best loser. Y'all were just an embarrassment. Not even an embarrassment of riches. Just an embarrassment of poverty. Just an embarrassment of embarrassments. That's my problem.
Can you stop dancing on the grave, coming to this funeral right now, and enjoying yourself? Can you at least pay a little respect for those who are grieving in this moment?
I can't.
Show me that respect.
I can't, Marcellus.
I'm over here sweating and crying. Come on, brother.
I had to bring out and summon all the Twitter trolls for you, sir, because you did this to yourself. Now, there's still another eulogy to be delivered in the next block as we discuss Kawhi Leonard, and so we're going to get to that. I'm going to let you recover. Somebody get this man some water, please. Coming up next, we're going to tell you who's under more pressure to bounce back on Sunday as Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott. That's coming up top of the hour. But first, I got to get to the next one in line. Kawhi Leonard. Oh, that performance last night. We're going to tell you how much of a hit his legacy took. It ain't did his legacy take it. Now Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. We got to keep it rolling and pouring it on Marcellus, because we're going back to your Clippers and Kawhi Leonard, who was expected to lead the future championship Clippers to the finals after coming to L.A. this offseason with 2 titles on his resume, Marcellus. But Kawhi, he was non-existent in the fourth quarter last night. 0 points, only 5 shot attempts. We're joined by another person who made a mistake. Glad y'all are both dressed for the funeral. That's Slick Rick, former NBA analyst, still trying to get that back on his plate. But Marcellus, you up first. Did Kawhi Leonard's legacy take a hit after last night's loss?
No, it did not. If you know what legacy means and you know what a legacy looks like. Did you just say he was a 2-time Finals MVP? You act like they are just walking around the NBA inside the bubble like, here I am, here I am. That's who Kawhi Leonard is. So how can he take a hit in this moment? Only reason you would even go there is if you had absurd expectations on how they were going to cook up this chemistry and go out there and win a championship. Look, I had those absurd expectations, but I don't expect everyone to live in those expectations, because this is the reality. Kawhi Leonard went to a new situation, new organization, new team, new scheme. And he went there and he brought a belief that this team could actually go out there and do something. Now, this team had an abbreviated season that hurt us more than most, if not all. Because when we were trying to cook up the same chemistry that was necessary for us to play optimal basketball.
You burned down the kitchen?
Boy, I swear. You lucky we social distancing.
So I can crush this man.
My point is,
finish your thoughts.
This is a team that had an abbreviated season when they, of all teams, did not need things to stop right in the middle. Right in the middle of the process of them cooking this up to become a team, a real whole unit, and to gel together. I'm telling you right now.
What you telling? I don't know what you're telling me.
That the Clippers weren't going to have any parts of this Corona championship, any parts of this pandemic parade, any parts of this abbreviated
You sound like LeVar on Coronas. That's what you sound like right now.
My point is,
I don't know your point.
My point is,
I don't know your point.
Kawhi Leonard is still standing Teflon Don strong as a 2-time Finals MVP. More importantly, inspiring an organization to go from where they've never been.
Done. Rap. Thank you. Marcellus, you should have just said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's what you should have said. Because all you said the last 2 minutes was a bunch of big words that had no substance and no meaning. So let's get to the point with some meaning. Yes, Kawhi's legacy took a hit. Don't ever mention Kawhi Leonard in the GOAT conversation ever again. I know some very intelligent people that said Kawhi's the best 2-way basketball player we've seen since Michael Jordan. Vince Carter came out and said, if Kawhi wins another chip and Finals MVP, he got to be top 5. Kawhi Leonard, again, I'm going to give y'all this equation in case y'all missed it on the first block and y'all was asleep. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. The expectation was for Kawhi, 2-time MVP, to come, 2-time Finals MVP, to come bring a chip to the Clippers. That's all it was. Clip City, Chip City. That's all they said, that nonsense.
That's all I said,
Kawhi was supposed to bring a chip to the Clippers. Nothing to show for it. Think about this for a second. If LeBron, Marcellus, if LeBron dare fix his fingers and his legs and his eyes and his elbows to go 6 for 22? 6 for 22 in the biggest game of the season.
Dallas.
In a game 7.
Finals.
I'm glad you brought up the finals. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Finals.
The Dallas finals happened before LeBron had ever won a chip. Before LeBron, what's that got to do with
They
something?
take him away?
No. If this happened to Kawhi Marcellus in 2015, I would have been like, you know what? It's all good. Kawhi hasn't proven to be that dude yet. But Kawhi's already proven to be a two-time Finals MVP. Kawhi's expectations are already high. You can bring up, okay, with KD, he lost 3-1. He lost to a Golden State team with Klay, with Steph, with Draymond. Okay, Steph, they lost when they was up 3-1. They lost to King James. But Kawhi lost to the Nuggets.
What the
Nuggets
hell?
with no barbecue sauce. The Nuggets.
Big Dog, you keep taking away from people or trying to say, oh, when they're here, you think this. When they're here, we think that. Only Kawhi, Kareem, and LeBron are two-time Finals MVPs on two different teams. So if you go all of a sudden start taking shots at Kawhi, I want to hear them shots at your LeBron James
Here's the thing.
or Kareem. That is rare air, brother.
When this LeBron that you speak of, and let's make sure that you put some respect on his name, because don't even mention Kawhi and LeBron in the same sense. If you're talking about Kawhi Leonard, put a period and put a pause, and then mention LeBron. But I don't want to hear them too close to each other, because those two have nothing to do with one another. LeBron James, after he won his 2 chips in Miami, what was his objective? Go back to Cleveland, win a chip.
Lost 2 of them,
Didn't happen the first time. Why? Because Kyrie's knee disintegrated and Kevin Love got hurt. But what happened? LeBron did what he was supposed to do and brought a chip to the Cavs. Kawhi leaves the Raptors. He should have stayed in Toronto, mind you, because he'd be playing the finals right now. But he leaves the Raptors, goes to your Clippers, thinking, okay, we gonna do this. This is the year. I'm the man. The whole world thinks I'm top 3. And what does he have to show for it?
LeBron didn't. LeBron left Cleveland and didn't win a championship his first year. Emmanuel Acho, who was still wet behind the ears at that time, probably wearing size 6 diapers. I know about that. Got a lot of kids at the crib. And your butt wasn't going to get on TV at that time. LeBron James, horrible, horrible. You know what you would have said? It takes time. It's a process. How come LeBron gets a pass there going to Miami, and he gets a pass going to L.A. last year, but Kawhi can't get a pass when he just won a championship last year?
What is the biggest knock on LeBron James? The biggest knock on LeBron James is his finals record. The biggest knock, the biggest legacy mark on LeBron James is either his finals record or that 11 loss to the Mavericks. Now, I grew up in Dallas. I was at the 11 finals. I was at the 06 finals. In all honesty, the Mavs was finna get that one anyway, just because it was some destiny nonsense. They go up 2-0 in 06 to D-Wade and Shaq. They lose that. So I knew the Mavs was going to get that one to the Heat. Real LeBron or not,
you knew.
It was Dirk's time. No, it was Dirk's time. But nonetheless, let's get back to the facts, bro.
Hold on, big dog.
Well, we haven't even gotten the facts.
We ain't even hold on. You yelling at the triple OG like you ain't got respect in this game. Let me bring in another OG, Slick Rick the Bucher. Slick Rick, go on and school this youngin' about how the game goes.
There's nothing to be schooled on, Slick.
Yeah, first of all, I'm dressed like this out of respect for Marcellus. I'm not going to be like you, Acho. We're bringing in like the pig foutonniere and celebrating this situation. This is a time for mourning. However, I'm going to take the shades off because they're not my Clippers. Yes, I bet on them winning it all, but that's the circumstance, and I misread exactly who and what they were. When it comes to Kawhi Leonard, without question, he's taken a hit. Marcellus, you have to stop Kawhiing. We just have to stop Kawhiing. He was listed as an all-time great. He was being discussed as the best player in the league. Are we going to do that now? Nobody is going to make that case, at least right now. Can he get back to it? Yeah, potentially he could get back to it. But the question is, did he take a hit? And without question, he took a hit. I often say that when it comes to LeBron James, since you guys brought him up. Oh, no, by the way, Acho, don't be punching, because you are the ultimate little brother.
What happened?
Marcellus, we know how this. I have no doubt Sam knows exactly what we're talking about.
What I do, Slick?
Little brother behavior right now.
Ask him.
What I do?
Ask Sam.
I'm innocent.
Ask Sam.
I'm innocent, Slick.
The whole thing. Well, oh my! Look, I have a little brother. I know how that goes. LeBron James, perhaps his best performance was in 2015, when without Kyrie Irving, without Kevin Love, he took the Warriors, the best offense and the second best offense, best defense in the league, to 6 games. It's not always whether you win or lose. It's not always whether you come through with the big performance. It's what do you do with what has been handed to you. And by every measure, the Clippers had the most talent in the league. And when you are the best player and the leader of that team, you make the most of it. You make the most of whatever you have. And ultimately, that is where Kawhi takes the biggest hit, is that he had enough around him to get it done and didn't.
Real quick, Marcellus, because, Slick, I've been using a whole bunch of feelings, but it's time to give you facts. Kawhi Leonard, pause, LeBron James. Okay, you see I didn't put them in the same sentence. Kawhi Leonard, Marcellus, in his game sevens, he averages 15 points and 9 boards, two assists. He's 2 and 3 in his game sevens. LeBron James, he averages 35, 10, and 6. He's won his last 6 game sevens. He's 6 and 2 in game 7. People try to speak of Kawhi Leonard as if he was the best player. It's honestly so, I get upset thinking about it. People try to speak about Kawhi as if he were the best player in the world because of this nonsensical recency bias. This world we live in, you see one bright, shiny toy, and you forget about the real stuff that you had. LeBron James, Game 7, delivers. Kawhi Leonard, yesterday, Marcellus, 6 for 22. That's embarrassing. To be even mentioned as the best player in the world, that's embarrassing. Remember, it was just 2 years ago people were saying KD and Kawhi, 1 and 2 top 2 players. LeBron is over the hump. LeBron, 1, wouldn't have been in this situation in the first place to be in a Game 7. And number 2, if somehow, some way, LeBron would have found himself in a Game 7, I can assure you, he would have had 6 field goals made in the first half, maybe the first quarter, not the whole game. It's a huge legacy hit for Kawhi.
It's not a huge legacy hit. Now, I have to address that some people may have been premature putting Kawhi Leonard in the top 10 or Mount Rushmore. I don't know where it landed, but let's talk about what it is in terms of Kawhi Leonard's legacy. And since we're going to juxtapose that against what LeBron James has done, let's use LeBron James against LeBron James himself. When he had to leave Cleveland the first time, he landed in the most talented place in the NBA. He landed on the most talented roster because he was there.
He made it the most talented roster.
And how did that work out?
He went to the finals.
He went to the finals 4 times, and he struck out twice of those 4 times. So guess what? And the first year, he didn't win the championship. LeBron James talked himself into the conversation because he called himself the king. He played himself into the conversation because he was the chosen one. And then he played himself right out that conversation. But then LeBron James wins 2 of 4 in Miami, goes back to Cleveland, and now he needs an additive. He needs a story. And he wins another one.
In the most historic fashion.
In a historic fashion. But guess what? What you're losing is the time that has elapsed from when he left Miami and he played himself into it and played himself out of it to the time that he got himself back in that conversation. That's where Kawhi Leonard is right now. But if you're saying that a 2-time finals MVP is now out the discussion because he needs the same mulligan that LeBron James was given a couple of times, that's absurd, brother.
Context matters, Slick. Back me up on this when I'm done preaching this mighty good sermon. I might stay here for 3 services, Marcellus. Context matters. LeBron James lost one of them finals to a Spurs team led by a Hall of Fame head coach, led by 3 Hall of Fame players. Context matters. Kawhi Leonard, if Kawhi would have lost to LeBron in the Western Conference Finals, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Why? It doesn't matter if you come up short.
And
why do you keep acting like the Lakers going to advance past Denver? What if Denver snipes the Lakers? What you going to say?
Don't distract.
What you going to say?
Don't distract. I'm not getting distracted by you, Marcellus. I'm focused. I'm focused. Who are you? Context matters. If Kawhi loses to LeBron, we're like, LeBron's a better player, not a big deal. Kawhi Leonard lost to Jamal Murray and Jokic. Great players, but they haven't proven
LeBron lost to Dirk and Jason Terry.
You just said Dirk as if Dirk's not a Hall of Famer.
Hold on, who's better though? You just said who's better? Kawhi's a Hall of Famer.
Dirk as if Dirk's not a Hall of Famer.
Hold on, you trying to say that in the NBA, Jokic ain't gonna be a Hall of Famer?
I would give Kawhi a pass if he lost to Dirk.
Hold on.
That's my point.
Well, and Jason Terry, what's the more talented roster there?
The Mavericks way more talented than these sorry Nuggets.
I don't know that.
That's finna lose in 5 games.
This is an abbreviated season for a reason,
please. I'm sweating, Slick. I'm sweating. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, the thing that disappoints me most about what happened with Kawhi and this team is we heard it all year long, that there were chemistry issues. Marcellus, you mentioned it yourself. Montrez pointed it out. There are chemistry issues. Who of anyone on this roster should have known what championship chemistry looks like and how you develop it? and who should have been ringing the alarm and grabbing the scruff of everybody who wasn't following suit and getting it done? It was Kawhi Leonard. The intangibles matter when we talk about all-time greats. What did he say after Game 5? Was there any alarm sounded? Was there any we're not good enough? Was there any point in the season where we heard from Kawhi Leonard and said, fellas, this isn't good enough, whether it was internally or externally? And when we saw him play, did we see him do anything where he was trying to demonstrate it? You either speak it or you act it. But if you are the leader and you're the one guy who's not been with one, but 2 championship-winning teams, you know what it takes to win a championship. That's what I was counting on when I counted on the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard, now the big question is, was he given the vehicle in Toronto and in San Antonio? Was there a reason why he's never been a league MVP? When you're an all-time great, there's exclamation marks and there's statements made about you. There aren't questions. Right now, there are a ton of questions when it comes to Kawhi Leonard. Not only what he did in this series, but what he's done in the past and how he got it done.
I'm going to say this. Slick, high school athletes, college athletes, you always have that one person on your team, and Marcellus, you're going to know what I'm talking about, that sandbags. And for y'all at home, I know y'all can relate to this. You're running 21-10s at the end of practice. That's 110-yard sprints, whatever the case may be. And you have that one guy on your team that he chills for the first 16, 17 reps. He be chilling. Why? Because he knows, oh, them last 4 reps, he about to come in first and make everybody else look sorry. See, the problem is Kawhi was sandbagging all season long. That's what he typically does. He load manages. He load manages. He load manages. But the problem is you got to win at the end of the race. Kawhi didn't even win at the end of the race. The last little point I'm going to give y'all for the cats that go by the water cooler and want to sound smart. Statistically, you could argue Kawhi played the worst game of his career last night. -21 plus or minus. That's tied for the worst postseason game in his career. So not only did Kawhi underperform, when Kawhi was needed most, he gave his least. That's all bad, Marcellus.
Wow, I never knew that sandbagging was being named All-NBA as Kawhi Leonard was just today, but Acho, you know all about that, right?
Expectations.
Exactly.
Minus reality.
Calm down, big dog.
Expectations.
I didn't know also that you were sandbagging when you went to a new franchise and won a championship in your first year, something that LeBron James has never done. I didn't know that was considered sandbagging, what Kawhi did in Toronto last year, creating these absurd expectations that you are now upset about. You know how they say insanity is defined as doing something the same way but expecting different results?
Like Doc Rivers?
You know what's interesting about sanity, I guess? Doing something the same way and expecting the same results. And maybe, I don't know, you can look at this as a positive. Kawhi Leonard may be the most sane person on this planet. He thought that he could just do what he did in Toronto, in L.A., and it would work. Turns out, he's like LeBron. It ain't gonna work the first year, big dog. And that's okay, Mr. All-NBA 2-time Finals MVP. Coming up, let's talk about a sport that's going to make me happy. Oh, God, I got to get out this mink. It's hot. Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott both took losses in their season openers. We'll tell you which quarterback is under more pressure to bounce back Sunday. Next, Speak for Yourself is presented by Hyundai. Sunday on Fox, Dak and Zeke lead the Cowboys in their home opener against Matt Ryan and the Falcons. So you may see Jimmy G and the 49ers as they take on the Jets. All the NFL action kicks off at 1 Eastern. Check local listings for the games in your area or watch it on the Fox Sports app. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. Speaking of the Cowboys, Dak Prescott's squad took a season-opening L against the Rams. Dak only accounted for 11 yards on 3rd downs, while in Philly, Carson Wentz didn't fare any better. His Eagles lost their opener as well, and Wentz was picked off twice and sacked a career-high 8 times. Ouch. Acho, who's under more pressure to bounce back Sunday? Dak, Wentz.
For me, man, Dak Prescott. It's Dak Prescott because, like, once again, Marcellus, I'm going to hammer this equation home until people understand it. That expectations and that reality, that equals disappointment. Okay. The expectations for Dak Prescott are sky high. They're sky high, number one, because Dak Prescott's built them for himself. Dak Prescott's the one who wants to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And if he doesn't, at least the world has made Dak Prescott out to be. Number two, Jerry Jones came out and said, this is arguably the best offense he's ever had as a team. Number three, Dak Prescott came out and said, between CD, between Gallup, between Amari Cooper, plus Zeke, this offense shouldn't be stopped. But then you go out in the first game against the Rams, and you get outplayed by Jared Goff statistically. You let Jared Goff account for more yards than you through the air. Y'all let Jared Goff account for more, you let the Rams account for more yards than y'all on the ground. So Dak Prescott has a whole lot more at stake. But also remember, Dak Prescott hasn't earned his money yet. He ain't earned that moolah just yet. He got tagged, you're it. But that tag is only good for that one season. Carson Wentz at least has also earned his money. So Carson Wentz has a little more insulation. But lastly, think about Dak Prescott. They don't have too many excuses. Sure, Lyle Collins was out, that's starting right tackle. But outside of that, this last game, you had all your big dogs. You had all your big dogs. And you know what they say, big dogs gotta eat. Big dogs gotta eat. Eagles, on the other hand, starting right tackle, out. Starting right guard, Brandon Brooks, out. Starting left tackle, shouldn't even be on the team, and Jason Peters, they didn't even want to re-sign him, future Hall of Famer. But right now, they hadn't seen that Hall of Fame level of play, so he wasn't even supposed to be on the team. He had to go beg general manager Howie Roseman for a raise just to play the position. So Carson Wentz is, again, playing with less than Dak Prescott is. That's why Dak Prescott has significantly more pressure to bounce back. But lastly, and you know this better than I because you always bring this up. Acho, did you ever play for the Cowboys? You don't know that pressure.
America's team.
You don't know that pressure. That's what you always tell me.
Right.
The pressure comes by wearing the star. Dak Prescott, he feels that pressure. It's on him.
Wow, that was a mail-in take right there. Full of contradictions as well. I know last night was rough on me. I didn't know it was rough on you, too. You didn't prepare, big dog. You talked yourself right into it, right out the same conversation. You know this pressure is on Carson Wentz more so because Carson Wentz has now entered a new lane in our own mind. A new narrative has been created by Carson Wentz. We always said Carson Wentz is great on the football field, yes, but sometimes he gets injured. Oh, you're right. And that was it. What? Is there a new column? Is there a new category? Is there a new way to perceive who Carson Wentz is, which is maybe he ain't that good? Articles out of Philly, left and right, saying this is the make or break year for Carson Wentz because of that money. You talk about the money, and you say it like it's insulation, when really it's expectation.
That's fair.
You're getting $32 million a year, and it's on the books. We need you to ball out. First, ball out. Second, finish the season. Not just have one completion in January in your entire career. And you're going to try and contrast that against what Dak Prescott did, which was just in week one. We're using these two against each other. Outplayed Carson Wentz. They both got the L, but he outplayed Carson Wentz in that situation. He did. On top of this, the continuity has to be played into this conversation.
Okay.
When you are Carson Wentz and it's abbreviated offseason, no preseason, Zoom coming into the season, all right, I know the playbook. All right, I know my coaching staff. Let's roll. When you're Dak Prescott and you don't even get to see your coach until August, you got to build a football field in your own backyard just to get some run. New offense in terms of you integrating with the head coach, even though you got the same offensive coordinator. A lot of moving parts for Dak Prescott, who still outperformed Carson Wentz, who is now being looked at a little differently than he was before.
Let's look at things differently then, because most shows don't have two former athletes hosting it, so we can keep it 100 with the audience. We're going to get to that later. Think about this. When you're sitting in the locker room, Marcellus, when you're sitting at your locker and you checking the games out, and you're like, oh, they lost to so-and-so?
Yeah.
Oh, they beat so-and-so?
Yeah.
Think about this. You know the transitive property. If A is greater than B, and B is greater than C, then A is greater than C. If the Eagles now go beat the Rams, after the Rams beat the Cowboys, see if A, we're going to say E. If E for the Eagles is greater than R, the Rams, and the Rams, the R, is greater than C, the Cowboys, then people are at least going to start looking and say, man, maybe E, the Eagles, are greater than C, the Cowboys. People are going to start looking and say, okay, they've played similar opponents. Let's throw week one out the hat. Let's do that.
Of course you would like to do that because that's reality.
I'm saying that's what people will do. They'll say, okay, Dak didn't play great week one. Wentz didn't play great week one. Let's now assess week two. If the Eagles go out and beat the same team that just beat the Cowboys, it's going to be some eyebrows being raised. But also keep this in mind, bro.
I'm listening,
Week
brother.
3. The Eagles play the Bengals. Go ahead. You already looked at the schedule. That's a win.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys play the Seahawks. So if the Cowboys lose this week, you already know that game 3, that's probably going to be an L in Seattle. So it's a whole lot of pressure for Dak because he realizes, man, if I don't get this one right, that next one's not getting any easier against Russell Wilson, against Jamal Adams, against Bobby Wagner. My schedule ain't getting no easier no time soon. So they realize, man, there's a whole lot of pressure to win this one because it's not going to get easier for the Cowboys the next week.
I know who you are. I'm going to call you Tattoo. You know who Tattoo is?
Tattoo?
It was a show. It's probably too old for you. You ever heard of Fantasy Island?
I heard that.
Tattoo, little dude right there. That's you, Fantasy Island. You love a what-if scenario. You hate reality. I'm not going to go week 2, week 3, week 4. Big dog, you know what's going to happen. Let's use week 1.
Okay.
You no, you didn't beat Washington. You didn't beat the Rams. Which one feels better when you walk in that locker room? You lost by 3 to the Rams or you lost to the Washington team? Thank you. My point is, you already setting yourself up to losing to the Washington team. Be careful, Carson Wentz. You already introduced a new narrative that you're not going to play well, which we've never seen really from you, Carson Wentz. Be careful. But let me bring it to you like you know how we felt it in the locker room.
Talk to me.
And since we are 2 former athletes hosting the show, the only ones doing that, let's keep it 100. I don't know if you ever had this conversation, because according to your brother Sam, you never got paid in the league. That's what Sam said.
I did.
That's what he said.
Yeah, y'all can check. Y'all can go sports track. I ain't get paid in the league. I ain't gonna lie to y'all.
But your boy over here, let the suits tell you, got a couple of times. Hit him in the head. You know what happened every time I hit him in the head?
What happened?
Veterans will come up to you, big dog. Hey, big. Hey, that's real. Congratulations. Don't spend it all in one place. But remember, as soon as they give you that money, they upstairs already trying to figure out how to get that money back. I heard that every single time. If you're Carson Wentz, trust me, they already got somebody in tow, Jalen Hurts, ready to take your spot, and they trying to get that money back, and you are giving them reasons and ammunition just to do that. Coming up, trade rumors are swirling in Cleveland. We'll tell you if the Browns should move on from Odell Beckham Jr. next. Speak for yourself, presented by Hyundai.
We got huge news in college football. The Big Ten announced today that they'll resume playing starting the weekend of October 23rd. The conference says they have adopted significant medical protocols, including daily testing for players and coaching staff. Congrats to everyone involved, and y'all remember, Fox is your home for Big Ten football. Let's move to NFL football and to the Browns, where a story out of Cleveland says the Browns are actively trying to trade Odell Beckham Jr. OBJ hasn't been on the right page with Baker Mayfield in his 17 games in Cleveland. In fact, he only had 3 catches for 22 yards in their blowout loss Sunday to the Ravens. L.A., it's good to see you, my brother. Always joined by NFL analyst LeVar Arrington.
Big Ten, baby, Big Ten.
He hyped. He hyped the Penn State back.
Big Ten, baby.
We are. But Marcellus, to you, should the Browns trade Odell Beckham Jr.?
Absolutely. You got to let Odell go, man. Baker Mayfield shouldn't be in this position of power to ruin multiple careers. It's okay if you want to ruin your own, Baker Mayfield, and go out there and throw for 53% completion percentage and have everyone start to whisper, to yell that you are a bust. That's fine. But don't do it to Odell. Jarvis Landry as well. But don't do it to Odell. Odell has to leave. Odell is a star. Odell is an enigma. We want to see Odell, while he is in his prime, still go out there and shine. We saw Odell when he was a New York Giant. We knew that Odell was playing with a quarterback that was coming down the hill in Eli Manning. And Odell still was at an NFL historical pace, outpacing Jerry Rice in many categories. And then he met you, Baker Mayfield. And Lord, in the 17 games Odell has had with Baker Mayfield, he has had 3 catches or fewer 6 of those times. The hell? He played 59 games with Eli and only had 3. And then Baker Mayfield's talking about our chemistry has to come naturally. You better force it, because guess what? I know right now that you may be on the balance and the fringes of being great, good, or sorry, but I know I'm great, and you wasted me, so Odell got to go if they're going to be married to Baker.
Man, Marcellus, you know, when you remember that one homeboy, that one homegirl, and everything was going good for him, they were smiling. They was happy. They was thriving. Their skin was popping. They was glowing. You know what I'm saying? Hair was long. Okay, hair was long for me. I don't know about you. But then all of a sudden, Marcellus, they got into a toxic relationship, and you was like, yo, what happened to her? Hey, what happened to him? That's the same thing that's going on with Odell. The whole NFL is like, hey, what happened to him? The Browns have to trade Odell Beckham for a couple reasons. Baker Mayfield, like Marcellus said, he got this ship sinking. It is sinking. I don't know what's going on in Cleveland, but Baker got the ship sinking. And if there is only one life raft, please throw it to the most important person. And I promise that's one thing that Odell Beckham will surely catch. Think about this. Odell Beckham, you could argue, or inarguably, the best receiver in the National Football League. The only reason somebody would push back on that is because statistically, we haven't seen Odell ball for a while. But let me remind y'all, because so many of y'all have recency bias, Odell, 2015, 96 receptions, 1,450 yards, 1,450 and 13 total touchdowns. No active player has hit all those marks.
Dang.
None. Not Julio, not Hopkins, not nobody. Think about what Odell was doing. And I can say this, because 2014, back when I was starting, the rare times I played against Odell. He put up 12 catches, 170, and 2 tugs on us on New Year's Eve. Think about who Odell was playing with. Odell thrived with Eli Manning. And not 2-time Super Bowl MVP Eli Manning.
Right.
The Eli Manning that benched for Geno Smith. When you talk about the greats right now playing the game, Michael Thomas is great, can't guard Mike. He's playing with Drew Brees. You talk about DeAndre Hopkins. He was playing with one of the best players in the generation right now in Deshaun Watson. You talk about the top-tier players, Matty Ice, throwing the ball to Julio Jones. Julio Jones playing with Matt Ryan, an MVP at one point in time. Odell was balling with no help. And since then, since going to Baker, since going to Cleveland, we ain't seen the same Odell. So the Browns need to trade Odell because it's clearly not working. And Odell, man, honestly, I feel sorry for the young cat.
Oh, man. You know, I got to be honest with you guys. I came from a different perspective on this question than you both. You guys are looking at it from the preservation of Odell, and I think that's respectable. But based upon the report of Cleveland trying to shop him around, I came from the perspective of what's best for the Cleveland Browns. And I say, no, you don't trade Odell Beckham. In fact, when you think about what you're dealing with, if you get rid of Odell Beckham, you trade Odell Beckham, it's still a poor team that Odell Beckham Jr. leaves. So if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm thinking of this in terms of how do I maximize what I have going on with this team? And I'll tell you, you have to bring in somebody else at the quarterback's position because this is organizational that we're talking about. 2007, think about this. 2007 is the last time the Cleveland Browns had a winning season. All right, they won 10 games in 2007. They haven't been able to beat the 7-game wins mark since then. Think about that. You want to know the last time they were in the playoffs? Think about this. 2002. Marcellus, me and you were still in the league. I don't even know. Were you in middle school, Acho? Where were you at in 2002?
A strong
right?
7th grade.
So,
strong.
This is a bigger issue than Odell Beckham. In fact, it's a bigger issue than Baker Mayfield.
It is a bigger issue. But the problem is there's been a quarterback carousel in there since 1999, and guess what? It won't stop. So if you're going to still keep spinning out of control, at least let Odell eject himself from this situation and save him. I told you I had a friend who went to lifeguard school. I told you this story before. And they told him in lifeguard school, make sure that 2 people don't drown. That means when you go out there to save them, if they keep fighting and if they going to keep scrapping, okay, one of us ain't gonna go. And that's the situation. Why do both of these careers have to drown? We know Baker's is probably gonna drown. If he doesn't change course and change course fast, it's a wrap for Baker Mayfield in terms of perception. He may play himself out of this later, like a Rich Gannon who had his early issues. But all things considered, it looks like Baker Mayfield is leaning more bust than being the best. Now, you look at Odell, we have historical numbers. I have more numbers. You have a guy who, in his top 32 games, why did I say 32 games? 2 seasons worth of football for Odell. 30 of them were with the Giants. 2 of them with Cleveland, and we done played together for 17 games. Let's talk about yards in the 20s, since that's what he had last week. 3 catches, 22 yards. Ooh, this Odell, 3 catches, 22 yards. He's had 4 of those in the 20s with Cleveland. He had 2 in 59 games with eroding Eli Manning. Look, I'm going to give you the player's perspective. Baker is mental to me. Baker is the guy who comes into the offseason, if it's good, what's up? Chug a beer, talk some noise. If it's a bad one, oh, I'm going to let my actions speak. Until we get close to the season, then he's going to keep talking again, get on the field, and start saying, I need another wake-up call, or I need to have natural chemistry. I love playing defensive line for one reason more than others. It was the fact that I wasn't dependent when I played defensive line. No matter what the play call was, no matter what Acho and LeVar said at linebacker, all I had between me and pay dirt was an offensive lineman. Beat him, I got some money. Even if the quarterback throws the ball, I could get a hit, I could get a hurry, I could get a pressure. I don't always got to get a sack. I can make impact. I remember talking to wide receivers who used to sit there and just be like, they keep calling us divas, but the real issue is I depend on not only a quarterback to be good enough to have a clean pocket, an offensive line to protect him before I can even do my thing. And Odell is not going to be able to do his thing with Baker Mayfield the way that this thing is looking right now.
You know, simply put, the Cleveland Browns should handle this very, very gently and very detailed and intentionally oriented, because if you do Odell Beckham wrong, and this is clearly not playing out the way that it should so far, what other free agents would want to come to Cleveland? I mean, I get it. If you come there, you get a big payday, you'll come. But this team is littered with free agent talent. If you can't fix what I just mentioned to you earlier in the segment as really an organizational failure is what's going on right now. And it's interesting that it falls on the shoulders of its team stars. I was part of something like that. I can empathize with this. It doesn't make any sense to continue to try to figure out if trading Odell Beckham makes this team better. Does it give them a better opportunity to win? The bigger issue here is that it's a culture of failing. It's not a culture. I mean, they went and didn't win one game during the course of the season. They won one game during the course of the season. This is the National Football League. This is the best of the best players, period. And you can only win one game. You couldn't win a game. This is bigger, and to put it on Odell Beckham, we could throw out stats, all kinds of different things. There's no justification other than the fact that you got to figure it out upstairs before it even takes place on the field.
Odell has now become a prisoner of his own success and his own reputation. Odell's walking into Cleveland because of reputation with 2 strikes, and he knows he can't get his 3rd strike in terms of how he demonstrates himself in frustration. Odell has even said this, and he talks about it in quote, he acknowledged he must be careful with his body language during games so it doesn't appear he's pouting. He's like, I have to watch everything I do. Whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, the spotlight's always on me. And he says, I'm not very vocal about the things that happen because people are going to perceive it differently. Like I said, it's the first game, so I'm trying to give patience to this moment. But the reality is, Odell is hot 100. He is so frustrated, but because they're going to use that against him and say, there he goes again, he has to suffer through what Baker Mayfield's going to put him through. And to me, that's unfortunate. Coming up in our big story, speaking of unfortunate, the Clippers loaded for a championship and came up way too short. We'll tell you if it's time for Doc Rivers to go. What? You're watching Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley here. Emmanuel Acho smiling still ear to ear.
It's good to see you with the smile on your face now, though. You've kind of accepted the Clippers' loss, I see.
Yeah, I did last night. In-N-Out drive-thru. It's time for our big story. Sponsored by Jimmy Dean, because today's your day to shine on. Let's return to my Clippers, still my Clippers, who blew a 3-1 series lead against the Nuggets and failed to reach the conference finals. Doc is now the only coach in NBA history to lose a 3-1 lead in 3 playoff series. Ouch. He's gotten the Clippers to the playoffs in all but one of his 7 seasons in LA, but has never gotten them past the conference semifinals. After the game, Doc said, quote, I'll take any blame for it. So, Acho, should the Clippers move on from Doc Rivers?
Oh, this is a tough question. It's the toughest question I've gotten all day, and this is why. Doc Rivers, I believe, one of the most beloved coaches in the NBA. At least me as a fan, right? I don't have any basketball ties playing in the NBA, NFL, and after that, an analyst. I'm like, man, I really like Doc Rivers. I appreciate Doc Rivers a man. I appreciate Doc Rivers a human being. Marcellus, you know what's coming next. But wait, it gets worse. The problem is, you got to speak real with these facts. I mean, think about this. Doc Rivers is one of the most long-tenured coaches in the NBA. The only coaches that have been at their team longer than Doc Rivers, you got Coach Pop, been with them Spurs 24 years, but he has 5 titles to sit there and prove it with. You got Carlisle, but he has a title. You got Spoelstra, but he has a couple titles. You have Stotts, but Stotts, remember, went to the finals last year in the West, which Doc Rivers has still yet to do. And then you got Brad Stevens. You know Brad Stevens coaching the Boston Celtics, the same Celtics that Doc Rivers left because Doc Rivers didn't want to be a part of the rebuild. And Brad Stevens has been to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 out of the last 4 years. So as much as I like Doc Rivers, you have to remember, what has Doc Rivers as a coach truly achieved? Okay, in 2008, he won. I get that. But in theory, I equate that to Dak Prescott's rookie year when he went 13-3, and everybody has hung Dak's success on that rookie season. Was that really achievement, or did he underachieve? Because, yes, Doc Rivers, he won that title. Anything is possible. You remember KG after they won the chip?
got that money on that one.
But remember, that Celtics team was the first real big 3. Like, they should have had at least 2 chips, and Doc only has 1 to show for it. Let's go back when Doc Rivers, prior to that Celtics team, all he has to show for it was squandering T-Mac's arguably greatest season when he led the league in points with 32 points per game in the Magic, and Doc Rivers squandered that opportunity. So as much as I like Doc Rivers, the man, when you look at what Doc Rivers has done and his entire body of work, there's just not a lot that's impressive outside of that 1 year, that 1 championship. But in all honesty, you could argue that only winning 1 championship with that squad is underachieving. The same parallel you made 30 minutes ago. LeBron James goes to Miami. In theory, you could argue he underachieved. Sure, he had 2 chips, but went 2 for 4. In the same breath, I would argue, yes, Doc Rivers has a chip, but has Doc Rivers actually overachieved or underachieved with the teams he's coached? And I think a much stronger argument can be said that he's underachieved. So Chip City, Clip City, I think that's what they say.
Yeah, they say.
They got to move on from Doc, bro.
They have to. I was waiting for you to just finally get off that fence, ripping up your Levi's, and finally say it. Say it with your chest.
I don't want to bust out the suit jacket. I don't like saying things with my chest because the jacket might pop.
Oh, my God. You have not been on this planet long enough to say the things that you say. You are smart. You can make it sound good, but it just doesn't work in reality. I totally disagree with you for many reasons.
Please, I'm here all day.
All right, let's keep it simple. If it's not Doc Rivers as your coach, who? When they out there hiring, Tom Thibodeau level coaches, these hey, is Thibodeau available? And that level. So if it's not Doc Rivers first, who? And why do I bring that up? Because my name is Marcellus Vernon Wiley, and my teammates used to call me Dat Dude. And they got that in part from a rapper named Devin the Dude. You ever heard Devin the Dude? He's from Texas. He had a song and he had a chorus where he said, "Don't give up for show to get mo, because you end up with no." I can't say exactly because it's rap, but the point is, you don't ever give up for show to get mo, because you end up with no. And guess what? If you give up Doc Rivers, who is one of only 6 NBA head coaches that have a championship, 24 other dudes over there with bellies and whistles yelling at players and ain't won jack. And then there's 6, and Doc is one of those guys. You better respect that gangster. I ain't done with you, big dog, because you brought up something that I got to go into.
Go into it.
You brought up Brad Stevens, who replaced Doc, and you almost put enough sauce on Brad Stevens' name where I would think that you think he's better than Doc Rivers, because his team's in the Eastern Conference Finals right now. But let me remind you what Brad Stevens had to go through. Same thing that Doc Rivers just witnessed and went through with the first year Kawhi Leonard on the Clippers. 2018, were you up here saying fire Brad Stevens when he went through the same damn thing? They added 2 cherries on top, Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. And they had Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier, all had these huge roles like, we got this, we got this. And then they brought them cherries on top and said, y'all get out the way and go out there and play. Clippers just witnessed this with Pat Beverly, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams. We got this, we got Golden State. Oh, here's 2 cherries on top. It doesn't work the first year. Ask LeBron. He's went through this twice already, and it doesn't work.
Here's my biggest problem. Here's what I love about this show, because y'all don't realize what y'all gonna get when y'all come on this show. See, we gonna give a little bit of relationship advice as well. Marcellus' strongest point, and I know it was the strongest point because in TV they tell you, lead with the headline. So he led with the strongest point. No, you said, if not Doc, then who? See, Marcellus, you are in a fear-based relationship.
You talking about my wife?
I'm gonna
You know me well.
Marcellus,
scared of that lady.
You're in a fear-based relationship, meaning don't ever stay in a relationship with somebody because you're scared of what's going to happen if you leave them.
Oh, you hit me where it hurts.
Don't ever stay in a relationship with somebody, Marcellus, because you're scared. Here's a problem.
All right,
I understand what you said. You're like, okay, if not Doc, then who? But that can't be the reasons the Clippers stay in a relationship. That's why they've been in a relationship more than likely the last 6, 7 years. Because it's like, if not Doc, then who? But let's be real. Has Doc overachieved or has he underachieved? The fact of the matter is, if anything, he's underachieved. Let's talk about blowing the 3-1 lead in what was it? Was it 2015, 2016?
Which one?
03? 03, it was 15, it was 2020. So, like, if your strongest argument, the strongest case for Doc Rivers is, if not Doc, then who? That's not a strong argument. But again, you're a master contortionist, and so you twist the stats. You say that there are only 5 or 6 other NBA coaches, current coaches with titles. There's a dude on Doc's bench, Ty Lue, that got a title.
That's true.
So how can you sit here and say, if not Doc, then who? Marcel, let's get out of these fear-based relationships, whether it's in life or it's on the court. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, you hit me where it hurt. I ain't gonna lie. If they cut this up and put it on YouTube and I take a loss like this, I gotta come back fighting. Come on, Compton, let's fight. All right. You know damn well, though, when Steve Ballmer has his exit interviews and Ty Lue comes in by himself and Sam Cassell comes in by himself, like, I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't have done that. But you know what? I ain't the head coach. I ain't the head coach. If they're smart, they got to play it that way. Strong points right there. The only thing I will push back on that is saying Doc Rivers is achieved. I don't know if overachievement is really the thing, because, look, he had to fight racism. He had a racist owner. And then he fought through racism. I mean, this brother had to fight through it right there in his organization. Beyond that, Lob City was a thing, but it was chemistry issues. This is a thing, but it's day one, year one of this same thing. So let's see how it plays out. LeBron was given 2 passes to do the same exact thing that we're trying to see Kawhi and Doc Rivers do. Let's get Slick Rick the Bucher in on this, Rick. Should the Clippers move on from Doc Rivers? Say it.
Acho, can you give Marcellus and I a minute here?
Please.
I need a minute with my man.
I'll exit.
Marcellus,
Yeah.
you know that right now, Acho is playing this annoying little brother role to the hilt, right?
Hate that.
And you know what's really difficult is when the little brother is annoying and he's right. That's the hardest part. And Acho today has been right all the way down the line. And I'm of the same mind. The question always is, it's easy to say fire a coach. We don't like, I mean, the fans do that all the time. A lot of talking heads do that all the time. I'm always of the mind, okay, why and how are you going to make it better? And I look at the difficulties that the Clippers have had, and I look at who's out there, and I say, you know what? They didn't lose this series because they didn't score enough. I know we've looked at those numbers, but the last 3 games, the Nuggets shot 48% or better. It was defense that was the issue, and inconsistency was the issue. And the one thing we've seen with Doc, and Acho brought it up earlier, is that he's had plenty of series leads in the playoffs, time after time, and he's lost them. What that tells me is that he had the most talent coming in, the opposition made an adjustment, and the Clippers and Doc, or whatever team he was with, were never able to make that adjustment. And let's keep in mind, we're looking at fixing that defensive element. And I don't know, I originally, when we did the pre-show on this, I thought, well, at the very least, you need to change out the assistant coaches. You need to get him his Tom Thibodeau, because when he had a Tom Thibodeau, that ramrod, that defensive specialist who kept everybody in line, that was how they won a championship in Boston. So at the very least, you need to change out the assistant coaches. But I'm thinking about the timeline that they're on and what we've gone through, and the question of whether is Doc a better coach now than he was in 2008, I'm not sure I can say that. And so I'm with Acho. You need to go get this now, and you need to go get somebody who's going to be disciplined. And when I look at a Mark Jackson and the effect that he had on the Warriors, Jeff Van Gundy and what he stands for as far as attention to detail, I'm like, you know what? I've got the talent here. I've got enough talent. I need somebody who's going to hold everybody accountable, and I need to make a change. Because as you guys said, insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. At this point, thinking that Doc is going to turn this or he's going to outcoach the opposition is a figure of insanity.
It's like that.
It's like
It's like that. Pelican Bay, both of y'all, Pelican Bay. If I'm Doc Rivers, King Kong ain't got nothing on me. What the hell y'all talking about? It's only 5 of me walking around here. That's it, coaching head coaches of NBA teams. I dare y'all. Mark Jackson, respect to Mark Jackson. That's my friend, that's the homie, and he's a great coach. How many championships Mark Jackson win as a head coach? Y'all over here, get rid of my assistants. Okay, Acho says, promoted an assistant. Then Slick Rick comes back and says, get rid of the assistants. And then Slick Rick goes there and says, well, I'm not sure if he's a better coach or not than when he won a championship. So if you're not certain that he's less of a coach from a championship level coach, when the hell you getting rid of Doc Rivers? King Kong, let me.
Marcellus, here's what I'm going to say, bro. What? Get off the craps table. Step off the blackjack table. Get away from the poker table. Like, sooner or later, you got to realize this is not a winning hand, and Doc Rivers with this team isn't necessarily a winning coach. Think about this, and this is how we're going to drop the mic right here. Doc Rivers, he's blown an NBA record 10 playoff series when he's been ahead. Doc Rivers is 14-27 in closeout games. You talk about a coach who didn't win it in his first year. Well, let's talk about a coach who did win it in his first year, and Nick Nurse, who won it with that same player, Kawhi, and you would have to argue, inarguably, in all honesty, with a lesser talented roster than the current Clippers roster has. So if you want to talk about the one thing Doc Rivers has done, winning that title in 08, there's a whole lot of things Doc Rivers hadn't done both before 08 and since 08 that proves the Clippers need to move on before it's too late. Remember, who hitting the street for the Clippers next year?
Who?
Kawhi and PG. They can both chunk the deuces, so you ain't got but one more year to make it work. Y'all need to catch lightning in a bottle.
Exactly
and
right.
I don't know if Doc Rivers is about to catch no lightning anytime soon.
I'm about to get y'all up off this air with some names. And y'all keep talking about underachievement. What has Doc had to really work with? I'm going to give you a list of names that Doc Rivers had to coach up. And y'all ask yourself, how many of these guys won a championship without Doc Rivers? Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Paul George. All he got is Kawhi Leonard and Ray Allen hooking up with LeBron. Y'all give me some names that Doc Rivers worked with that were already champions or championship.
So you gonna say this?
So my point is this. Doc Rivers has got himself in a position and coached himself into a greter position than even his players' achievements warranted. Doc Rivers is the dude.
Get them championships? When he's supposed to get those guys championships?
Slick, let me say this. So Marcellus, what he didn't do is
coming up.
So Doc Rivers is coach Tracy McGrady, Paul Pierce, Rondo, KG, CP3, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Kawhi, and he ain't got but one chip to show for it? That's really what I just heard.
Hey, Vinny Del Negro had a lot of that. Put that on Vinny. Coming up, Bruce Arians called out Tom Brady. And Brett Favre, he ain't having it. We'll tell you if Favre should have been defending the GOAT. Next, speak for yourself. Did I get myself in trouble there?
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's move on to Tampa Bay, where head coach Bruce Arians got headlines for calling out superstar Tom Brady after the GOAT threw 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 in his Buccaneers debut. Well, that didn't sit well with Hall of Famer Brett Favre, who came to Brady's defense, saying, quote, I think the last person you want to call out after the first game of the year is Tom Brady. Now, maybe they had a mutual truce going into the game, going into the season. Hey, I'm going to be hard on you. I want the guys to know we're going to treat you the same, even though technically I'm not. So are you okay with it? Now, if they had that truce, great. But if not, I think you were barking up the wrong tree. Well, we got our own Hall of Famer joining us. Couldn't be more excited. Eric Dickerson, Fox NFL analyst. What's up, ED? But
what's up, guys? How you doing?
All good, all good. Marcellus, talk to me, though.
Yeah.
You got an issue with Brett Favre defending Tom Brady?
I do have an issue with Brett Favre. The great, respect to your career, but you the last dude that I want to be hearing some end-of-career advice from if it comes to Brett Favre. Do y'all remember how he came down the hill with no brakes? That's the last guy I'm going to say guide someone else's career, because his actions and his attitude at that time, latter stage Brett Favre, is not the advice that Tom Brady should take. So let's look at latter stage Brett Favre in terms of what he did in Green Bay, especially as I'm the full screen king. And if you look at this is what set Brett Favre up. 4-12, 8-8. Footnote right there. After that, he did go 13-3. But the point of it is, when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, all of a sudden, Brett Favre started to show some warts. Why do I bring that up? Because this is a guy, all of a sudden, all of the equity he had, all of what he built up was all of a sudden expendable and put at risk because of how he was treating the organization and treating others, to the tune of, they said that Brett Favre showed up one day while Aaron Rodgers was there, and they was like, we have moved on. You have to leave the building. And we all know what happened with the delay of the Wall of Honor, etc. All those things considered, if you're Tom Brady, you got to answer this in the only way that you can answer it, through your performance. This can't be an emotional, ego-based response. Like, oh, how dare he criticize me? And Brett Favre talking about you barking up the wrong tree. No, it sounds like, Brett Favre, you're the wrong tree that was in the wrong yard because you didn't know how to deal with criticism when you were coming down the hill. I think that Bruce Arians is doing this the right way, leveling the playing field, saying all that greatness of yours, Brady, was somewhere else. Over here, different culture, same expectations, we still want to see greatness.
Well, I don't think, the question was, I think that you have a problem with him defending Tom Brady. I don't have a problem. I think any player should defend another player. I mean, I'm big on defending players. You know, in certain instances, one thing I have a real problem with is when a player goes from playing, then he goes to the booth or becomes an analyst. And all of a sudden, if he plays that position, like he's never thrown an interception. I've never missed a tackle. I've never fumbled a ball. Like, oh, my God, he can't fumble a ball in that situation. I was a running back. You can't do that. But I guarantee you fumbled a ball before also. So I don't find anything wrong with you defending a former player. He's defending a quarterback. He's defending a great player. Tom Brady's no doubt about that for sure. But I think Tom Brady is the first to take ownership of when he plays bad. I mean, and that's what it is. One thing is you got to understand, he hasn't been in Tampa. This is his first year in Tampa. Everything is brand new. Marcellus, you know how it is, man. Even walking into the locker room is new. Everything is new. Getting to the stadium is new. Being in New England, he could go to that stadium with his eyes closed. These plays, they're brand new. I mean, when I played for the Rams and I played for the Colts, the system was different. The 2-4-6 hold was on the right with the Rams. 2-4-6-8 was to the right. When I got to the Colts, 1-3-2-4-6-8 to the left. So it takes a minute to get acclimated to everything. This is one game. The season's not over. I think I don't know if everybody's panicking, but I think this is a no-brainer. Brett Favre did right by defending Tom Brady. I mean, because you can't have Tom Brady coming out and say, hey, look, y'all threw 2 picks, but blah, blah, blah. No, that doesn't sound right. So you have another guy, another Hall of Famer, you know, and Brett has thrown his share of picks. There's no doubt about that. So if you'd have heard Brett Favre say, you can't throw those kind of picks, that's a bad pick. How you going to do that? Now, you'd have been like, hold up, Brett. Wait a minute now. You're known for throwing picks. You're known for trying to squeeze the ball in. So for me, I don't have a problem with him defending another player.
Man, I'm with you, Hall of Famer. I agree with you. I don't have a problem with it, but I don't have a problem with it because, Marcellus, if Brett Favre can't speak on this matter, who the heck can? Like, Brett Favre is actually one of the few people most qualified to talk about this. He played to the age of 40. When playing to the age of 40 wasn't a regular occurrence like Tom Brady and Drew Brees are now making it seem like. Brett Favre actually succeeded at a very high level. Remember, he went 12-4 before losing in an NFC championship to them Saints in Minnesota when he was 40. Brett Favre has actually played and succeeded after transitioning to a new team, leaving a historic place where Brett Favre was in Green Bay, then going to Minnesota, having success. Tom Brady left a historic place in New England, going to Tampa, trying to have success. Brett Favre is actually the one person that should be able to speak on this. But also think, Brett Favre, he knows better than Bruce Arians what will work, as Brett Favre has worn the shoes. Bruce Arians, he might necessarily have been a stylist trying to make sure that Tom Brady looks the part, Tom Brady can play the part, but Brett Favre has actually had to walk on the field, walk between those white lines as you talk about. So Brett Favre should speak on this most, but in all honesty, I'm fine with Brett Favre saying what he said and defending Tom Brady because Brett Favre is right. Like Bruce Arians, okay, you don't need to necessarily coach Tom Brady in the same way as you're coaching everybody else. So even if Bruce Arians does have some sort of truth, that's ignorant. Think about how think about how Bill Belichick has adjusted in New England. Everybody said oil and water. Cam Newton, Belichick won't work. Well, Cam Newton showed up in his highlighter yellow suit with his fedora hat with the feather in it, and he still balled. Why? Because Belichick made proper adjustments. I think Bruce Arians, if he wants to be a Super Bowl winning head coach, not Super Bowl winning assistant coach, he needs to make the same adjustments.
Man, all he's saying, if you really decode it, is, I was too emotional at that stage of my career and too accomplished to be hearing somebody talk to me like I was still a player. So he's trying to tell me that Tom Brady is the same? Like, don't bark up that tree may fall on you. Maybe that tree is withering away. Maybe there is an issue with it, and he's trying to save it if you're Bruce Arians. So this whole don't talk to me like that, that's soft belly. I ain't from that school of thought. What really is going on here is simple. They had a bad draw for week 1 of Tom Brady going to a new organization, new system. You're playing the Saints. Can y'all calm down? Y'all want to look at your schedule going forward? You got the Panthers, Broncos, Chargers, Bears, Packers, Raiders, Giants. At least 5, 6 of those games look winnable. Pretty easy if you just show up as Tampa Bay. So the point of this is, Brett Favre, you don't need to defend Tom Brady and go out there and say, hey, Hall of Famer, hey, I got your back. Yeah, he is making us look a little hard and soft. Stay in your place, stay on the farm, let Tom Brady stay on the team, in the locker room, and take this coaching like all players should. Coming up, we got a fun new game. You've heard of Keep It 100? Well, when coaches and athletes can't be totally honest, they actually keep it 99.
Don't explain.
Next. Love you, Eric Dixon.
ED.
All right. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Time to keep it 99. When coaches and athletes can't keep it 100.
Can't do it.
They'll give you an answer that isn't totally honest or truthful. Liars. You listen to the sound bites and we'll translate.
Now, we're going to translate the first one, but y'all got to listen to Gardner Minshew on being left out of his teammates' playing celebrations post-touchdown.
These dudes.
Dude, they didn't tell me anything. So, like, I was kind of left out and kind of awkward there. But, shoot, as long as we score touchdowns, I don't really, have much right to complain.
That's going to make an awkward encounter when you tell them in the locker room, right?
Dude, I'm not going to bring it up. They weren't even that good. They could do better.
Now, look, I know Minshew had to keep it 99, but if he was keeping it 100, let me tell you what he would have said. Now, I know my teammates, they don't think I can dance, probably because I'm white, and that's not right. That's racial profiling. They call me Minshew Magic for a reason. Y'all didn't see me last year, Swaggy, getting off the plane. I can jig. I can do that. I can jerk. I can nay-nay. I can whip. Okay? They just don't trust me and my teammates because of that. I don't trust them necessarily.
Ooh, I like that right there. Look, let's be real. This was racial. Racial. They were like, all right, hey, bro. And then beyond it being racial, they were like, no, we saw you at the team out. Remember that dinner we had in the fall? Oh yeah. You dress wild, but you dance even wilder than that. And I didn't see any video, Acho, of Gardner dancing on the field, which leads me to say that they racially profiled him for a real reason. Here's Kyle Shanahan, y'all, on his quarterback Jimmy G after a loss to the Cardinals.
He had some good plays in there, but just like the entire offense, just missed a number of opportunities that, was going to take to win that game. And so we had a couple there. But, he's got to play better. We all got to play better on offense, especially, and that starts with me.
Ooh, did y'all catch that right there? Whenever someone says he and then a we comes right behind it, like, well, he needs to play better. But he's trying to spread that hate so it doesn't hurt and hit Jimmy G where it should. So I caught this a lot of times while I was in the locker room where I actually didn't really mess up. But coach is talking about somebody else, probably bigger name, bigger stature, bigger paycheck. So he's like, yo, he needs to do better. We all need to. Hey, wait a minute, what you? I know he and we are homonyms, but chill out, coach. They're antonyms in what you really mean.
Here's the thing, I get that, Marcellus, because a lot of people got to keep it 99 about quarterbacks because quarterbacks can be a little sensitive. So how about Odell Beckham on his chemistry issues with Baker Mayfield?
I've never played quarterback, so I could never. It's very hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes, and as a receiver, you're like, man, I'm open, or this or that, and that's just not it's not feasible for me to think about what he may be going back through, what he may be going through back there, or if there's pressure or if there's things going on.
Man, Odell had to keep it 99, but if he was keeping it 100, he would have said this. Honestly, I played quarterback back in Pee Wee. I was probably better than Baker in Pee Wee, too. People cussing me out on Twitter, Baker. People cussing me out because I'm killing their fantasy teams. I'm not this sorry, Baker, and you making me look sorry. It's really not my fault, Dog Pound. It's really not my fault, Browns fans. It's not me. I'm not the problem. Odell was keeping it 99, and probably for good reason.
Oh, look, for real. Odell's sitting there like, hey, if this sorry dude played quarterback like I played wide receiver, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now, damn it. The hell y'all talking about? Y'all really trying to grade me based off of this dude? Bum. And that's what he's trying to say. But he knows he's in a dependent position, so the thing he has to do is respect his quarterback no matter how sorry he is. How about Paul George after the Clippers' Game 7 loss to the Nuggets?
Fact of the matter is we didn't live up to that expectation. But I think internally, we've always felt this is not a championship or bust year for us. We just didn't have enough time together.
Sound like Paul really wanted to say, we don't really like each other that much, damn it. I mean, look, we play well together, but I like ISO, Kawhi like ISO. These dudes was playing, sharing the ball last year. It's a battle of old versus new. They don't really like us because we came in here, load management, chilling, getting all the shine when they were in the playoffs last year and thought that they were good enough without us. So this whole time and we didn't have enough time, he basically like, next year gonna be championship or bust, or me and Kawhi gonna be out of here.
Marcellus, was PG even keeping it 90? I feel like he might have been keeping it like 55. Like, how you gonna
speed limit, huh?
How you gonna sit there and say all that nonsense?
Come on, big dog. Coming up, Mike McCarthy says the honeymoon is over after Sunday's loss. We'll tell you if the pressure of coaching in Dallas is already getting to him. Next, speak for yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's head to the Big D, where the Cowboys dropped their season opener Sunday to the Rams. Head coach Mike McCarthy was supposed to give the offense a boost, but the squad only converted 3 out of 12 third downs. McCarthy said the Cowboys looked like they were playing their first game, and he also added, quote, "Oh, our honeymoon is over. It's time to win games." LeVar Arrington is back with us, but Marcellus, talk to me. You played for the Cowboys. You know what the pressure feels like. Has the pressure of coaching the Cowboys already got to McCarthy?
Oh, yeah, it's already got to him. He talking about the honeymoon's over after week 1. Who said they even had a honeymoon? This is the NFL. Transactions occur. You got to hit the ground running. But that pressure in Dallas is different, man. They don't hang on to your every word in Dallas. They hang on to you every syllable in Dallas. And even if you come from Green Bay, where you get a lot of attention and you have a great, tremendous history, ain't the same as Dallas, big dog. So right now, he's talking about he has a grading index, and that's how he evaluates his team. And guess what? We had a high grading index, so we're really close. Mike McCarthy, calm down. This sounds like paralysis by analysis. This sounds like a guy who's going out there and saying, there's no such thing as an ugly win or a pretty loss. There's a simple way to look at football. And you don't have to go to MIT to know this, Mike McCarthy. It's called the turnover ratio. Full screen right here. Look at the turnover ratio. Hey, if you got +3, this is what coaches do, the ones who are not trying to have a high grading index. +3, you're going to win 91%. +2, you're going to win 81%. +1, you're going to win 67%. That's it. I don't need no grading index. Dallas is starting to get to him. It's starting to fry his brain, making him overthink this situation. Just win the damn game, whether it's pretty or ugly.
Was that a full screen or an air quality chart, bro? I'm a little confused with all the colors.
Hey, especially right now, LA air quality for real.
Ethiopia.
Let's talk about something else that's poor quality. Mike McCarthy without Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, he's 6-12-1. Mike McCarthy with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, 119-66. Here's what this means. I say this because the jury is really still out on Mike McCarthy. So often people understand, well, great head coaches exist, but is it the great head coach or is it the coach playing with the great player, or in Mike McCarthy's case, players? Marcellus, you always get on me because I live in fantasy land.
You do.
Let me tell you someone else who does. Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones lives in fantasy land better than any of us because Jerry Jones, he understands odds. He understands statistics. That's why he plays the game and not plays the game, maneuvers the game the way he does. Jerry Jones understands this. If the Cowboys start 0-2, there's a 12% chance they make the playoffs. Oh, if they start 0-2, remember, they playing the Seahawks the next week. If they go 0-3, there's a 2% chance they make the playoffs. And if you start 0-2, only a 1% chance you win the Super Bowl. Those odds, those statistics, they matter. Mike McCarthy realizes that. Again, I told y'all, I spent 2 years working for the Cowboys, 2016, 2017. I worked in the Star. You walk into those front doors in one Frisco way, $1 million in chandeliers.
Yes.
You see all the Lombardi trophies.
Yes.
They want you to realize this is what a team is supposed to look like. But more than anything, when you're working in the Star, it's just a bunch of glass windows. And all those glass windows, they look out to the practice field. Because as Jerry Jones sits up there in his office in one of those top-level floors, and he looks to his left or he looks to his right, he's looking out at Mike McCarthy. And you better believe that Mike McCarthy feels the pressure, not only for coaching for the Cowboys, but he feels the pressure for coaching under Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I think you guys are overstating it a little bit, bro. I mean, he had to get through that door to get the job to begin with, right? All those things you guys are saying, he saw all of the conversations with the brass of the Cowboys. These things have already taken place. So I don't think there's a new amount of stress or pressure that Mike McCarthy has. And it better not be, because for the few jobs that you are able to get in the National Football League, he better be able to handle the pressure and the stress of what's going on right this moment. I agree. They did not come out of that game in a bad way. I mean, people can state it however they want, but if there's a such thing as a good loss, Dallas had one.
Yes.
Why? Because you can get out of the way of it. That could it have been a PI or whatever? I don't know. But that could have
let me chime in on this,
game.
LA. I got to chime in on this. Because I thought about this, not even being argumentative. Mike McCarthy actually needs some lucky breaks. Y'all know in the game of football, every now and then, there's a 50-50 ball, right? You talk about throwing a jump ball. That's the proverbial phrase that's used. There are also some 50-50 calls. To your point, Mike McCarthy had a couple bad breaks, but when you're coaching for the Cowboys, especially early on, to LeVar's point, Mike McCarthy needs a little bit of luck to go his way too, because it would be very unfortunate if a couple bad breaks are what puts Mike McCarthy behind the 8 ball. I'm not necessarily saying...
That can't be what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the point.
That can't be what it is.
He can't afford to get put in a bad situation just because of a couple bad breaks, because then that pressure will surely melt.
Yeah, here's the thing for me, man. I just don't like points that Acho bring up. He's like, not to be argumentative. I love being argumentative. Ask my wife about this. He's like, hey, Mike McCarthy, what's your record in wins and losses without Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers? What the hell is Phil Jackson's record without Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan? How many games he won? 0. How many has Belichick won without Tom Brady? 41.
Phil Jackson won games
in 5
without
or 6
Jordan.
years.
He won 55 games with Scottie Pippen. He won 55. I mean, he won 50 with Pippen. He won 50 with Pippen. He won 50 with Pippen. He won. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying, Marcel, says he won with Pippen.
Jimmy is in the house. He'll give us a letter grade for today's show. Next, how many times has Uncle Jimmy been on without me and Nacho?
Before we go, let's bring in Uncle Jimmy. What letter grade would you give today's show?
Oh, I see you, baby. I see you, player. I see you, player.
Dearly beloved, we gathered here today to pay our respects to the dearly departed.
Oh, yes.
Meaning they once were dearly, now they have departed. In other words, I'm telling y'all, the Clippers is dead. I'm telling y'all, the Clippers is dead all because of this dude who chose to come out here dressed like Big Red from the movie The 5 Heartbeats. Came out here talking about, oh, Eleanor, I'm so sorry. Well, you should be sorry. It's your fault that all of this happened. Let me tell you something. Back in my day, we used to have a phrase. If you said something, we say, man, put that on something. The Italians used to say, I put that on my mother's eye. you know when you put it on yesterday? You put it on Clifford Arrow. You couldn't put it on Playoff Pete. You couldn't put it on Pandemic Paul. Or as I call it, poor little Tink. You know what I realized, man? The Clippers is like every co-host you ever had. They just quit on your ass out. Sky out of me. Oh, you got to